Imagine driving down a lonely stretch of highway in Elephant Butte, New Mexico. The desert sun is setting, casting long, jagged shadows across the scrubland. You see a plain, silver trailer parked off the beaten path. To a passerby, it looks like a mobile home or perhaps a storage shed for tools. But inside that soundproofed box, worth nearly $100,000, lies a nightmare that defies human comprehension. There are no windows. The walls are lined with surgical instruments, electrical devices, and mirrors positioned with sadistic intent. Most terrifying of all is the tape recorder sitting on the table. If you were sitting in the custom-built chair in the center of that room, the last thing you would hear before the screaming started was a calm, clinical voice played over the speakers, detailing exactly what was about to happen to you over the next several days. This is not a horror movie. This was the reality for an unknown number of victims who crossed paths with David Parker Ray. Tonight, on Shadow Files, we step inside the toy box to uncover the depravity of one of the most meticulous monsters in American history. The story of the toy box killer doesn't begin with a body. In fact, for a long time, there were no bodies at all. It began with a woman named Cynthia Vigil. In March of 1999, Cynthia managed the impossible. Bleeding, terrified, and wearing nothing but a padlocked metal collar, she fled from a trailer in Elephant Butte and sprinted toward the nearest house. She told a story so harrowing that the local police initially struggled to process it. She had been held captive for 3 days, tortured in ways that sounded like a script from a high-budget slasher film. When investigators raided the property of David Parker Ray, they didn't just find a crime scene, they found a literal torture chamber. Ray, a soft-spoken mechanic who worked for the state parks department, had spent years perfecting his toy box. It was a 20-foot semi-trailer, fully insulated for sound, equipped with a gynecological exam table, pulleys, and an array of devices designed to inflict maximum pain without causing immediate death. As the FBI moved in, they discovered the true extent of Ray's obsession. He wasn't just a spontaneous killer, he was a meticulous documenter. He kept journals detailing his fantasies and logs of his sessions. But the most chilling piece of evidence was the transcript. Ray had recorded an introductory tape that he would play for his victims as soon as they regained consciousness in the toy box. The tape lasted nearly an hour. In a monotone, instructional voice, he would explain to the victim that their old life was over, that they were now his property, and that their only job was to endure the entertainment he had planned. He spoke about himself in the third person, referring to himself as the master. The level of psychological warfare involved was unprecedented. He wanted his victims to know there was no hope, no escape, and no mercy. Before we go any deeper into the dark secrets hidden in the New Mexico desert, I want to take a moment to welcome you to Shadow Files. If you find these deep dives into the darker side of history as gripping as we do, please hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. Your support helps us continue to shine a light into the corners of the world that most people are too afraid to look at. Now, let's return to the investigation that shocked the nation. As the search of Ray's property expanded, the horror only grew. They found evidence suggesting Ray didn't work alone. His girlfriend, Cindy Hendy, was deeply involved, helping him lure victims and participating in the torture. Even Ray's own daughter, Glenda Jean Jessie Ray, was eventually implicated in his crimes. This wasn't just a lone madman, it was a family business of depravity. Investigators found a collection of jewelry and clothing that didn't belong to Cindy or Jessie. There were hundreds of items, keys, shoes, photos, that suggested the victim count was far higher than the few women who had escaped. The problem was that Ray was a master of disposal. He lived near a massive reservoir, and he often boasted about his ability to make people disappear. To this day, while Ray is suspected of killing up to 60 people, not a single body has ever been officially recovered and linked to his crimes through forensic evidence. The clues left behind were a haunting mosaic of missing persons reports from across the Southwest. Ray traveled frequently, often in his camper, and investigators believe he hunted in Arizona, Colorado, and Texas. One of the most significant cold case leads involves the disappearance of Jill Troya in 1995. Jill had been seen with Ray and his daughter before she vanished. Despite intensive searches of the desert and the lake, Jill has never been found. The FBI released photos of jewelry found in the toy box, hoping that families of missing women would recognize them. The response was overwhelming. Mothers and sisters called in, identifying rings and necklaces belonging to loved ones who had disappeared years prior. Yet, without bodies, the legal system struggled to charge Ray with multiple murders. He was eventually convicted on kidnapping and torture charges, receiving a sentence of 224 years. There are many theories about how Ray managed to operate for so long without getting caught. Some believe he had a network of accomplices, a satanic or sadistic circle that traded victims. While the satanic panic of the 80s has largely been debunked, the evidence in Ray's case suggests he certainly enjoyed sharing his hobbies with others. Another theory suggests that many of Ray's victims are actually still alive but have no memory of what happened. Ray was known to use a sophisticated cocktail of drugs, including barbiturates and amnesiacs, to sedate his victims. He would tell them on his tapes that if they were good, he would eventually dump them back on the street with no memory of the toy box. It's a terrifying thought, that there are women walking around today who have unexplained gaps in their memory, never knowing they spent days in the clutches of the master. The most enduring mystery, however, is the location of the bodies. Some investigators believe Ray used a professional-grade incinerator, while others are convinced the remains lie at the bottom of the Elephant Butte reservoir, weighted down and lost in the silt. In 2002, just a year into his sentence, David Parker Ray died of a heart attack. He took his secrets to the grave, never confessing to a single murder, despite the overwhelming evidence of his lethal intent. He died without ever telling the families of the missing where their daughters were buried. He remained in control until the very end, leaving a trail of broken lives and unanswered questions that haunt New Mexico to this day. The toy box killer represents a specific kind of evil, one that is organized, clinical, and entirely devoid of empathy. He didn't just kill, he curated an experience of terror. The silver trailer is gone now, dismantled and locked away in FBI evidence, but the shadow it cast remains. We are left to wonder how many people truly disappeared into that box, and how many monsters like David Parker Ray are parked in plain sight, waiting for their next guest. If you have any information regarding the missing persons cases in New Mexico from the late 80s to the late 90s, please contact the authorities. No detail is too small. Thank you for joining us for this investigation on Shadow Files. If this story stayed with you, please leave a comment below with your thoughts on the case. Don't forget to like this video and share it to help us grow the channel. We'll see you in the next file.